Here is the English audio script of the scrolls based on Ogmandino's The Greatest Salesman in the World and similar inspirational texts, divided into clear paragraphs for emotional, spoken delivery. Welcome to Moonfall Inn. No matter what you've been through today, there is always a lamp lit for you here. Now, hand your weariness to me, and let us slowly enter tonight's story. Tonight, we read the scrolls. Have you ever had that moment, late at night, when all sounds have faded, and you suddenly hear your own heartbeat, one beat, another beat, as if it is knocking on something? You turn over, facing the ceiling. In the darkness, countless paths seem to unfold before you, and yet, none at all. You feel a kind of light heaviness. Your life is made of countless choices, yet it feels as if you are being pushed forward by some invisible hand. Then, a question seeps into your consciousness like night fog. What am I really living for? Is this path I am walking? Did I truly choose it? Tonight, I want to walk with you into a book that seems ancient, yet has been called a map of the soul by countless people. It is not a book of answers. It is a mirror. That book is the scrolls. When we speak of the scrolls, we often encounter a foggy beginning. It has no single author in the traditional sense. It feels more like an anthology of life, written by countless souls who struggled, thought, and finally left their marks on the long river of fate. Its origins can be traced back to ancient wisdom traditions, passed down through generations of seekers, merchants, scholars, the defeated, explorers, and even prisoners in their cells. Their hands, in different times and places, touched the same leather cover and left their annotations and tear stains in the margins. One of the most well-known transmitters was a man named Ogmandino. At the darkest period of his life, Mandino was a complete failure, lost his job, his family broken, penniless, standing on the edge of suicide. One cold winter night, he walked into a library to escape the cold. His fingers brushed along the shelves and pulled out an old, dust-covered, leather-bound scroll. That book, later known as the Scrolls, changed the course of his life. He was not the author. He was a night keeper, someone who, at the point of deepest despair, was lit by a flame passed down from those before him, and decided to carry that torch forward. So, the motivation behind the scrolls was never a lofty sermon. It was the cry of a drowning man, and the journal of one who was saved. Every sentence was once written by a living person, with frozen fingers, in the blood of fate, as proof of survival. It was born out of hopelessness, written through tears, and passed on among those tiny, unquenchable flames of belief. Now, follow my voice. Let us temporarily forget the overpackaged labels of success philosophy. Let us open this book like an old novel, and step into the deep, symbolic world that the scrolls builds for us with its 10 leather scrolls. I will use a single narrative thread to walk you through the inner story of seeking and becoming. Imagine a young man, Let us call him the Awakener. He lives in an environment that seems stable yet suffocating. Every day repeats. Inside, he feels like an empty valley, always echoing with wind. One day, he hears an ancient legend. Far away, buried in the desert, there is a set of 10 leather scrolls. On them are written the ultimate wisdom about life, wealth, and inner peace. But the legend also says, the journey to find them is the first trial. That thought lands in his heart like a pebble thrown into still water. You may have felt this too, when the idea of change first arises. The first wave that comes is not courage, but fear. You have 1,000 dissatisfactions with your current situation, yet also 1,000 dependencies on it. What if I fail? What will others think of me? Am I being too unrealistic? The first scroll does not rush to cheer you up. It simply states a fact: every great journey begins with an honest betrayal of the present. After many sleepless nights, the young man finally empties his luggage, not just materially, but psychologically. He says goodbye to his past and walks into the vast desert. His bag is light, but his heart carries the weight of an entire world. Only in the desert does the real trial begin. Scorching sun, lack of water, endless sand dunes. These external hardships mirror his inner struggles: loneliness, self-doubt, the blurring of his goal. Then, he meets the first illusion. A seemingly rich and happy caravan. They invite him to join them, to go to a known, safe oasis. That is the temptation of comfort. The sweet call of turning back. Have you noticed when we decide to change, the first people who appear often advise us to be realistic? Here, the scrolls reveals the first harsh truth: the path to treasure is the narrow path of the few. You must learn to say no to well-meaning mediocrity. The young man chooses to continue alone. Then, he gets lost in a sandstorm, dying of thirst. As his consciousness fades, he fumbles at his waist and finds an old water bag, and inside, a last mouthful of water. That life-saving water is the second lesson: your greatest resources are often the things you already have but overlook. Your perseverance. A small success you once achieved. That unquenched passion deep in your heart. He survives on that water until he reaches the next turning point, the ruins of an ancient temple. In the shadow of the temple, he meets another traveler. A shadow full of resentment, cursing his unfair fate. This shadow is also searching for the scrolls, but he wants a spell that turns stone into gold, a secret art to make his enemies suffer. He mocks the young man's idealism, saying the world is full of deception and plunder. That is the temptation of cynicism, giving up noble goals and chasing immediate, twisted satisfaction. The young man's heart is torn. But as he touches the cold, ancient stone of the temple, he suddenly understands: your goal determines the kind of person you become. He who seeks gold sees only sand. He who seeks wisdom sees the universe in a grain of sand. Silently, he parts ways with the shadow. After many hardships, the young man finally finds a true oasis. There he meets a mentor who guards part of the scroll's wisdom. The mentor does not hand him the scrolls directly. Instead, he makes him work first, to learn, to serve others. Here, the scrolls reveals the most simple and profound law of growth. True strength is accumulated through ordinary persistence. The mentor makes him record his thoughts every day, practice controlling his emotions, learn to appreciate others, and generously share whatever little he has. This process is boring and slow, far from the sudden enlightenment of legends. The young man becomes impatient. He wants to skip the process and take the result. Doesn't that sound like a sign up for a course and expect an immediate promotion? Read a book and expect a sudden transformation. The mentor simply points to the spring in the oasis and says, "Do you think this spring appeared overnight? It comes from deep underground, filtered and gathered through rock layers over many years." Day after day, the young man changes. He becomes steady. His eyes grow clear. He begins to understand, the wisdom of the scrolls is not an external technique. It is a way to rebuild your inner order. It teaches you how to tame the horse of your thoughts. How to let the river of your emotions irrigate rather than flood. How to use action to cultivate fruit in the field of time. But the greatest enemy always appears when you are closest to success. When he is finally allowed to read some of the true scrolls and is about to set off to find the remaining ones, the shadow appears again. This time with stolen wealth and servants. The shadow mocks him, "See, I got the riches you dreamed of. And you only have a few empty maxims." In that moment, the young man's faith nearly collapses. Doubt wraps around his heart like poison ivy. Was this path I chose really wrong? Is being high-minded and persistent just a cover for incompetence? Driven by self-doubt, he rushes off to find the final scrolls, and falls into a deep natural cave. In the darkness, he feels a despair he has never known. No light. No direction. Even time loses its meaning. Just as he is about to give up, his fingers touch the scroll copies he has been carrying with him, the ones he has already read. In absolute darkness and silence, he does not read them. He recalls them. Sentence by sentence, the words begin to light up again inside his heart, this time, without external distractions, without the expectation of gain. The words speak directly to his soul. Suddenly, he weeps. Then falls into a long silence. In that silence, he suddenly hears the rhythm of the wind moving through the crevices of the cave. He feels the faint pulse of underground water. He has an epiphany. The final wisdom is not on any particular scroll. It is in the process of seeking itself. In every choice he made when he fell and rose again. In his ability to see his own inner light even in the darkness. The end of the scrolls is not a location. It is a state of being. A state of maintaining inner clarity, steadiness, and peace, no matter what situation you are in. Dash dash. When he climbs out of the cave with this understanding, he finds that the exit is right beside the oasis. He has walked a huge circle, and returned to the beginning. But everything is different. The mentor is waiting for him, smiling, and hands him a sealed clay jar. The young man opens it. Inside are 10 blank, rough-cut pieces of leather parchment, and a pen. The mentor says, "Now, with your own life experience, write your own scrolls for yourself, and for those who come after you." The story forms a perfect circle. The seeker becomes the creator. The student becomes the teacher. Dash dash. If I had to choose the single scene from this long spiritual journey that shakes my soul the most, it is the moment the young man is in that dark cave. Close your eyes and feel it with me. There is not a single ray of light. Absolute, devouring blackness. The air is damp, carrying the cold breath of soil and rock. You reach out and touch nothing, only emptiness. You shout, only your own echo returns, as if countless versions of you are laughing at you. Your body aches from the fall. But the deeper pain is the sound of something shattering inside. All your efforts, all your persistence, all your faith in the light, in the face of this unreasonable, brute darkness, seems so ridiculous, so insignificant. This is the real feeling of despair. It is not an abstract word. It is the taste of rust in your throat. The suffocation of an invisible hand squeezing your heart. The dryness when even tears will not come. The young man slumps there. The initial fear passes. What remains is something worse, a sense of nothingness. Meaning has vanished. Goals have evaporated. This existence of mine, he thinks, is about to dissolve into this darkness. Maybe, he thinks, falling asleep and never waking up, that would be a release. Just as his consciousness is about to slide into the abyss, his fingers unconsciously touch the rough parchment of the scrolls in his bag. They are worn, the edges frayed from being read so many times, stained with sand, sweat, and maybe tears. In total darkness, by touch alone, he slowly unrolls one. He cannot see the words, but strangely, the sentences he has repeated so many times, that he once found a little boring, begin to emerge in his mind on their own. Not in whole paragraphs. One word at a time. Like stars lighting themselves in the darkness. Persevere. Control your thoughts. Cherish each day. Love is the only rational act. In good times, these words seemed like pretty decorations. In the darkness, they become the only pitons he can hold onto. He stops remembering. He begins to experience these words. When he thinks of persevere, he realizes he is still breathing. His heart is still beating. That is perseverance itself. When he thinks of control your thoughts, he realizes that although he cannot control the darkness, he can control how he sees this darkness. It could be a tomb, or it could be a womb. a quiet place before rebirth. Then, he makes a crucial move. He stops struggling, stops complaining, even stops hoping for the light to return. He completely, totally, accepts the present darkness. And then, a miracle happens. In the extreme stillness and acceptance, his other senses become extraordinarily sharp. He hears the wind, passing through the tiniest cracks above the cave, making a faint, ancient, flute-like murmur. He feels, through the rock beneath him, the deep, steady pulse of the earth. He even smells an extremely faint, clean breath from some deep-rooted plant. The light does not suddenly appear. But the darkness is no longer a monster that swallows everything. It has become a space, a vast field of tiny life, that he can coexist with. His fear dissolves. A peace he has never known, like warm spring water, rises from deep within his heart. And in that peace, the ultimate realization strikes him, like an invisible but utterly clear bolt of lightning. The treasure he had been searching for all along, the ultimate answer to all of life's problems, was never outside somewhere. That wisdom, that power, that peace, had been sleeping inside his own heart all along, waiting to be awakened by the edge of despair. The scrolls were never a gift that gave him something new. They were a spell that awakened what was already within him. This scene is the emotional climax because it touches the deepest fear in each of our lives, the fear of being abandoned, of meaninglessness, of being utterly lost. And it shows us the only path through it. Not frantically searching for an external light, but learning to light your own inner lamp in the darkness. In that moment, the young man has not left the cave, but he has already gained true freedom. He has transformed from a beggar of fate into the sovereign of his own inner kingdom. From this soul-shaking climax, the core philosophy of the scrolls rises from a set of success rules into a profound existential wisdom. It speaks to the fundamental questions of being human. First, suffering is not a curse to be escaped. It is the necessary fire that refines the soul. We always pray for smooth sailing. But the scrolls points out, with almost cold wisdom, that the desert, the storm, the wrong turns, even the hostile shadow, all are precisely designed parts of your journey. Without the desert, you would never know the value of a single drop of water. Without the storm, you could never test the strength of your sails. Without the shadow's mockery and temptation, you could never truly define who you want to become. The value of a life is often not measured by how much joy you have accumulated, but by how much pain you have carried and transformed. The jade that finally shines is the one that endured the harshest polishing. Second, the real choice always happens where no one can see. In the darkness of the cave, the young man made the most important choice of all. Not a choice about how to get out, but a choice about what attitude to hold while inside the darkness. This is the deepest teaching of the scrolls. External circumstances are often beyond our control. But our response to those circumstances, that is always 100% our freedom. be grateful in good times, to learn in hard times, to guard your inner light in the darkest times. This ability to choose is the ultimate right that no one can take from you. Your life is simply the sum of all your small, daily choices. Third, love and responsibility are the keys that unlock the prison of the self. Notice, the young man's awakening did not happen during a solitary meditation on his own navel. It happened when he remembered the principles that involve others. Love is the only rational act. I will greet this day with love in my heart. The wisdom of the scrolls ultimately points outward. It is other-centered. It tells you, dwelling on your own gains and losses, your own fears and desires, that only narrows your life path. But when you begin to care for others, to serve others, to live for a larger responsibility, your personal pain miraculously shrinks. You gain a strength and meaning that transcends yourself. The highest wisdom and the deepest compassion, they are two sides of the same coin. Fourth, you are the eternal builder of your own thoughts. The scroll spends a great deal of space emphasizing the control of thoughts, the management of emotions, the building of habits. This is not simple self-discipline advice. It is based on a deep worldview. Your inner world is the blueprint for your outer world. What you persistently think, you will attract. What you deeply believe, you will live out. If your inner world is filled with images of lack and fear, the world will reflect back to you a reality of lack and fear. To change your life, you must begin by completely rebuilding the architecture of your inner world. Brick by brick. With positive beliefs, an attitude of gratitude, and a steady, determined goal. Fifth, legacy is the final completion of meaning. At the end of the story, the young man does not take away any material treasure. What he receives are blank scrolls and a pen. This image is so beautiful, and so profound. It means that the highest achievement in life is not consumption. It is creation. Not taking, but giving. Not becoming the end point of wisdom, but becoming a bridge that passes wisdom on. Your own experiences, your own insights, your mistakes, and victories, they are a unique scroll in themselves. When you begin to write with your own life, and are willing to pass it on to someone else groping in the darkness, then your search has truly completed its circle of meaning. You have merged into the great river of human spirit. You have gained a kind of immortality. So, the Scrolls is, in the end, a book about awakening and responsibility. It wakes you up to the realization that you are not a passive victim of fate, but an active creator of your life. And then, it gives you a responsibility, not only to create abundance for yourself, but to contribute your own unique light to the healing of the world. Friend, the story is over. But your search and mine, perhaps it has only just begun. Closing this invisible book of scrolls, the night outside your window may have grown deeper. Do you feel that something inside you has been touched? That young man walking alone in the desert, that soul who despaired and was reborn in a dark cave? Isn't he also a reflection of you and me? We have all stood at the crossroads of life, tempted by comfort, struck down by mockery, doubting ourselves in places where no one sees. We have all longed for a map, a guarantee, a clear answer saying, go this way, and everything will be fine. But tonight, the spiritual journey we have walked together may offer us another perspective. Perhaps the most precious thing in life is not a map that marks the location of treasure, but the courage to walk forward even when you have no map in the wilderness. Not the applause you receive on a brightly lit stage, but that single, tiny flame you light for yourself in the boundless darkness. The Scrolls does not promise us a life free of pain, but it gives us a way to digest pain, even to crystallize a pain into wisdom. It does not promise us a smooth destiny, but it gives us the inner strength to steady the rudder, whether in fair weather or foul. Now, I want to leave you with one final question, as a resting point for our long conversation tonight, and as a meditation you can carry into your life when you open your eyes tomorrow morning. If a blank scroll and a pen were placed in front of you right now, what would be the very first sentence of your own first scroll? A complaint, a fear, a to-do list, or a brave declaration of who you truly want to become? Your answer is not about right or wrong. It is about how you decide to define the road ahead. Good night. May you write pages of bright light on your own scroll. We will meet again with our next book.